This is Union General Irvin McDowell. He graduated United States Military Academy in 1838. He was a good military leader who knew how to train his troops. After being taken out of command for his loss at Bull Run, he was put in charge of protecting Washington, D.C. Here, General Irvin McDowell is to the right, while talking to General George B. McClellan on the left, who comes into the war later on.
The Union will come down into Virginia, and the Confederates will come up from North Carolina. General McClellan, you will be there.
P.T. Beauregard was born in Louisiana and was trained as a civil engineer at the United States Military Academy. He became the first Confederate brigadier general and commanded defenses at Charleston, South Carolina. He was the one who led the victory at Sumter and Bull Run. Joseph E. Johnston was a West Point graduate and ranked 13th out of 46 cadets. He was a Confederate general, and he relieved Stonewall Jackson at Harper's Ferry in May 1861. He reorganized the Army of the Shenandoah. He contributed to some of the Battle of Bull Run, and he was a commander of the Army of Tennessee. Mount Rose, where General Irvin McDowell started, which would be Washington. It also puts Beauregard at Manassas Junction, which is another name for this battle. Holmes is near the Potomac River, and Johnston is near the Shenandoah Valley. The direction of which McDowell moved his troops, which would be south, towards the Mitchell's Ford along the Bull Run River. There, circled, is where the early parts of the battle happened.
The capture of New Orleans was important because it helped the Union gain control of the Mississippi River. The Union wanted control over the Mississippi River because it blocked the trade route to the north. It was a major trade and transportation area for the South, and capturing it would return it to the Union.
War, both the Northern and Southern armies went to war at sea on March 9, 1862. This battle lasted for 3 weeks. The Confederate Navy's addition of iron plates to the captured USS Merrimac steam frigate temporarily made it an unstoppable force in the disputed waters of the Civil War. After seeing the Merrimac in action, the Union Navy constructed its own ironclad, the USS Monitor. On March 8, 1862, the Virginia attacked a Union squadron of wooden-hulled vessels in Hampton Roads off the Virginia coast. The USS Congress, a frigate, and the US Cumberland, a sailing sloop, were easily sunk by the Virginia, which suffered no noticeable damage. Late that night, the USS Monitor arrived in the area. With its deck nearly at the water level, the Monitor had an unassuming appearance, but it was a formidable match for the Confederate ironclad. On March 9th, the two vessels engaged each other. Both the Monitor and Virginia suffered direct hits that failed to penetrate the iron shells. Finally, after 4 hours, a cannon blast from the Virginia hit the Monitor's pilothouse, temporarily blinding the ship's captain, Union Lieutenant John L. Worden. The Virginia was thus allowed to escape to Norfolk, Virginia, and the Battle of Ironclads ended in a draw. 2 months later, the Virginia was trapped in Norfolk by advancing Union forces, and its Confederate crew blew up the fearful vessel rather than allow it to fall into Union hands.
Confederate General Albert Sidney Johnston surprised Union General Ulysses S. Grant
Johnston pushed the Union back from the high ground to the Tennessee River. Fighting was violent. Soon the Confederacy thought they would win. The Union had hidden behind a sunken road, and soon it was called the Hornet's Nest. General Johnston was mortally wounded and was replaced by P.G.T. Beauregard. The Union held their ground as the night fell and fighting continued. The next morning, the Union army was reinforced and outnumbered the Confederate army. Beauregard surrendered and left the field. The Battle of Shiloh was the bloodiest battle of its time and produced more than 23,000 casualties.
Fredericksburg was a U.S. Civil War battle fought between the Union Army under Ambrose Burnside and Confederate Army of Northern Virginia led by Robert E. Lee from December 13 to December 15, 1862 in Fredericksburg, Virginia, USA. Having replaced George B. McClellan as commander of the Union Army after the Battle of Antietam, General Ambrose Burnside crossed the Rappahannock River with a 115,000 troop army, and on December 13th launched an assault on the Confederate forces deployed in and around the town of Fredericksburg. After 2 days of constant fighting, all Northern Army attacks had been repelled by Southern troops, who put up a stubborn resistance, forcing Ambrose Burnside's troops to retreat and abandon the campaign.
Soldiers often wrote letters home to their loved ones, explaining what has been going on and reassuring them that they are okay. Nothing in the world could beat the feeling of getting a letter and knowing your son, brother, or husband is okay and has lived.